right, my amazing third graders, I need your help. I have these different objects and I want to sort them by how we would weigh them. So remember, we have ounces, and ounces are what we use to weigh things that don't weigh very much. Then we have pounds. So think about when we want to weigh ourselves, we use pounds. And then we have tons. And remember, tons are for things that are very big. So it has to be 2,000 pounds or bigger. So let's look at each of these objects and let's sort them into the correct category we would use to weigh them. So the first one we have is an apple. So would we use an apple, if we are wanting to weigh an apple, would we use ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, we would use ounces because one single apple by itself isn't going to weigh that much. Now, if we had a whole bunch of apples, that's a different story. But by one apple by itself, we're just going to use ounces. Okay, what about our dog? If we have a dog, are we going to use ounces, pounds, or tons? Turn and talk to somebody. What do you think we're going to use? Ounces, pounds, or tons? All right, come back to me in 3, 2, 1, 0. Eyes and ears on me. If I have a dog, what would we use? Would we use ounces or would we use pounds? All right, I heard two different things. I heard some people say ounces and I heard some people say pounds. And you know what? You're both right. I could use ounces. It would just take a whole bunch of ounces. Because remember, 16 ounces is 1 pound. So I could use ounces, but to be more efficient, I'm going to use pounds. The next one says a train. So if I wanted to measure how much a train weighs, would I use ounces, pounds, or tons? Again, you could use ounces, but it would take a whole bunch. Or I could use pounds and it still would take a whole bunch. So instead, I'm going to be efficient and I'm going to say it would weigh tons. The next one I have is my elephant. So for the elephant, am I going to use ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, I'm going to use tons. What about just a single piece of paper? If I wanted to weigh a piece of paper, would I use ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, I'm going to use ounces. What about a pencil? If I wanted to weigh the pencil, would I use ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, I would use ounces. What about a desk? If I wanted to weigh a desk, would I use ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, I would use pounds. What about a person? If we weigh ourselves, do we say I weigh this many ounces, this many pounds, or this many tons? Yeah, I'm going to say pounds. Now remember, I still could use ounces, but to be efficient, I'm going to say pounds. All right, what about my whale? Where's my whale going to go? Ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, it's going to go in tons because they weigh a lot. So let's look at these different examples. So I have our anchor chart over here in case we need to reference it. So I have dog food. My dog gets hungry and I have to go buy him food all the time. So I know that it's 40, but 40 what? Am I going to weigh dog food in ounces, pounds, or tons? Is it 40 ounces, 40 pounds, or 40 tons? What do you think? I hope you said pounds. And remember, for pounds, we can write LB or LBS. That's how we abbreviate it. It's the Latin part of it, so another language, but that's okay. So 40 pounds or 40 LBSs. What about a stuffed animal? If I wanted to weigh a stuffed animal, would I use ounces, pounds, or tons? That's right, I would use ounces. And I can either write ounces or I could just put OZ. Now with ounces, you have to be a little bit careful because as we're going to learn tomorrow, there's also fluid ounces. But if we're talking about fluid ounces, that means it has to have a liquid. A bunny rabbit or any kind of stuffed animal usually isn't full of water or some kind of liquid. So it's just regular ounces and it's just going to be ounces and then OZ. What about a giraffe? If I wanted to weigh a giraffe, would it be 1 ounce, 1 pound, or 1 ton? That's right, it would be 1 ton. And I can write just a lowercase t to represent ton. The other thing that I wanted us to look at is to think about how we measure weight. So when we measure weight, we use a scale. Now, it might depend on what size of scale depending on the object, but we still use a scale because for weight we use scale. So I have 8 different scenarios over here, and I want to sort them. So if I'm going to use a scale to measure it, I'm going to put it on the measure with a scale. If it doesn't have to do with weight and I'm not going to use a scale, I'm going to put it on this side where it says, do not measure with a scale. So here's my first one. How much water is in a dog bowl? If I want to know how much water is in a dog bowl, am I going to use a scale to find that out? Nah, I'm not going to put the scale on it. I don't want to know if I want to know how much water it is, I'm not going to figure out how much it weighs. So how much water is in a dog bowl? Is it going to go on measures with a scale or does not measure with a scale? That's right, it's coming over here. Do not measure with a scale. All right, what about how much water a soccer team drinks? So my son plays soccer, I have to buy the water. Am I going to measure that with a scale or not measure it with a scale? That's right, I'm not going to measure that with a scale. Just because they're thirsty doesn't mean I'm going to put them on the scale. All right, what about this? How heavy a bag of rocks is? If I want to know how heavy a bag of rocks is, am I going to use a scale or not use a scale? That's right, I'm going to use a scale. How many pounds a soccer ball is? What if I want to know how much a soccer ball weighs? Am I going to use a scale or not? That's right, I'm going to use a scale. What about how heavy a car is? If I want to know how heavy a car is, am I going to use a scale or not use a scale? That's right, I'm going to measure it with a scale. What about how much honey is in a jar? If I want to know how much honey is in a jar, am I going to use a scale or not use a scale? I'm not going to use a scale for that. What about how tall a building is? If I want to know how tall a building is, am I going to use a scale or am I going to not use a scale? No, I'm not going to use a scale for that. All right. What about how many pounds the chair is? So if I wanted to weigh my chair, am I going to use a scale or not use a scale? That's right, I'm going to use a scale. So a scale is an important tool that we use whenever we're wanting to measure weight.